Hi, my name is Beth Hiley here for BoardGameGeek. This is day 3 of Gen Con Online's coverage here streaming on Gen Con Studio channel. I'm really excited that we're able to partner with Gen Con for this opportunity. And I just want to remind everyone that if you are watching this feed, just remember to turn in your tickets every once in a while, because that does give Gen Con a lot of good feedback on what people are interested in, what they're watching, what maybe they would like to offer for future events. Secondly, they also have a shop, which is shop.gencon.com. And anything that you buy in that store helps both them and BGG. So we definitely would like you guys to pop over there. And excuse me. I'm pausing for a second because I'm getting a really bad feedback. If Derek, you wouldn't mind helping me out with that one. Okay, and last thing is, for those of you who are joining us in Twitch, because we're watching the chat, we've got some helpers here. They're able to feed me questions. So as you're watching this feed and you have any questions for me, for the guests about the game, please feel free to ask, and we can get those answered immediately. So let's move on to our first interview. I'm joined with Luke Ofanowski and David Marchbanks from Portal Games. Hi, guys. And you guys are here to talk about the next family member in the Imperial Settlers group, which is Imperial Settlers Rise of Empires.
Yep, exactly. This is an expansion that fans have been really asking for 4 years running. This was originally a idea on BGG, then it was a fan-inspired campaign created for print and play, and then it's been in development for over 2 years now, and it's finally released as an official expansion.
Let's assume that people watching this maybe have some familiarity with Imperial Settlers. We'd really like to make sure that we sort of highlight what is new and unique about Rise of Empires. So Nikki, our magic hands for today, has some of the components, there we go, out for display. So if you guys wouldn't mind just guiding her through some of those things that are new and unique with this box.
Perfect. Awesome. Hi, Nikki. Thanks for your help on that. All right, so yeah, because this is an expansion, and the components and the box and the game changes, right? Everyone who is going to get this is most likely going to be familiar with Imperial Settlers. So that's why it's best just to kind of go over the components. So what we've got here is we've got tokens on the top. Then we've got 3 different decks for quests that players are going to be trying to complete during their game. You've got 3 different decks for inventions. You've got, which are right below the quests there. And then on the right, you've got a province deck. And then on the bottom, 3 different sheets for 3 different ages. So basically, the goal of this game is to get your civilization to the modern age. So you want to get through all the 3 different ages, and that gets progressively more and more difficult because there's changes to the upkeep and how you have to maintain your empire. So that definitely gets more and more difficult. So the game can function with, as you guys might know, Imperial Settlers does have deck building components. So the game can function either as working with your deck building, and you can build your deck for the faction you're using for base deck. And as you play, the game will actually deck build for you as your empire grows. This is great for solo and it's great for multiplayer. So it just makes the game better overall. So I guess the first thing we can focus in on is we can point out the 3 different tracks on the sheets on the bottom. So those are the tracks in the middle. You've got one for, and David will jump in on me, I think one is diplomacy, one is tech, and one is commerce.
Yes, correct. And the top one is the diplomacy.
David's and his brother on a Twitch. Yeah. I'm sorry, my internet connection is coming in and out a little bit. We're having a hurricane coming in, so.
Not a worry. Yeah, you have diplomacy and warfare, and then you have commerce, and then you have technology.
Awesome. Yeah. So what's going on here is you're trying to progress all the way to the right on any one of these tracks, and the quests are there to help you in that. But basically, when to the right. So right now we're on the industrial. So this is the very basically, if we pull up the sheet for the antiquitous age, this is the very first sheet you're going to be playing with. And what happens here is as you progress on these tracks, you get different bonuses. So the green boxes are starting bonuses. So when you start the next game, you have things that you're getting right from the beginning. The yellow boxes are the tokens that we have on the other seen on the very top of the screen there. Exactly right here. So these tokens you can actually use on your locations to boost your abilities. So one is a fortification token. One is a token where it's a diplomacy token. So if somebody raises your location, then you get a raise token so that you can retaliate, all these different things. So that's what, yeah, and this is the diplomacy token. So that's what the yellow boxes are. You get tokens like this one for fortification, where you can put that on a building or a location and it can be raised. So you're getting tokens that benefit you and improve your abilities. You're getting starting bonuses to improve the increased difficulty of the game. And you're getting end game, the red boxes are end game conditions. So that's, you get either more points at the end or more ways to get inventions. So that's kind of what's happening with the track here. The bottom two tracks are your final score for the game and your leftover knowledge points. And on the very bottom, you've got a quest track to manage your progress towards the quests. The upper right area is as you expand your empire and get more provinces, you're going to have to check off those areas, and that's going to correspond to an increased cost that you're going to have to pay every end of every game. And that's important because the game gets harder and you do not want your empire to crumble. The whole point is to get through to the last, to the modern age, for all three ages, without your empire crumbling. So if we can show on screen some of the quests, relatively simple. You're going to have 3 quests drawn, one from every category type at the beginning of the game. And these are open for all players to try to compete. Think of it as a race where you have a black back, like on the bottom two, reflective, like it's blurry. I can't really see the names, but you've got the 2 black ones right there.
Hello.
There it is. And then what does the gold one say?
Gold one is viral or virile, like Genghis Khan.
There you go. So you're trying to fulfill all these quests, and think of it like Welcome to, where the first person that completes it, like when you have the upper right one viral like Genghis Khan, they get to advance on a track and they get a bonus. But then once that's completed by a player, it gets flipped over to a black side like you have here on the bottom two, where the reward isn't as big, but you still get something. So there's the diplomacy ones, which give you abilities where you raise, you can raise 1 time. You have the gold ones that give you gold, and then you have the ones on the bottom right, which basically give you cards. So those are quests. Basically, you're using these quests to progress on the track. So now let's talk about the inventions. So those are the 3 decks on the bottom, and you have one deck for each age. And at the end of the game, every game, and just to put it in context, there's 30 spaces for 30 games in this campaign. Usually the games will go for around 20. David, you've played like 5 times and you're still on the antiquitous age, right?
Yes, we're into the 5th game. We just finished our 5th game and we're still in the antique age. So it is it's difficult to advance ages. One of the really cool things about this is that it challenges you to play the game in different ways. And if it's a way that you don't normally play the game or a way that your faction isn't necessarily good at, you really have to adapt your play style, which is one of the really interesting things about the game, to complete quests, to advance on the tracks, to get into the next stage. And you want to get into the next stage as fast as possible because it becomes more and more expensive the more provinces you get. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and David had a situation with these decks actually, because one of the conditions having your empire crumble at the end of the game, at the end of every game, is you have to have one concept or one idea that comes up. So, and let's show some of the antique cards here and flip them over, because you'll see that there's a cost on the upper. My camera's frozen, but there's a cost on the upper corner there. There it is. So those are knowledge points. You get knowledge points equivalent to your game and any bonuses you get. But basically, you have to purchase at least one. You have to only get one invention card of a particular color. and you have to go through and pick that. David, I think, had a situation where you picked a really good invention at the very beginning of your very first, at the beginning of the campaign, at the end of your first game, and it was a little too expensive, and you didn't have enough points for the next game, and you almost crumbled?
I crumbled, but it was because we were missing some of the cheaper cards in the deck. Because they were in Paul's solo game that he was playing,
Gotcha.
and so some of the 30-point cards weren't in the deck, so I didn't have enough points to buy an invention. So my empire crumbled, and on the stream we were like, oh, I crumbled, and then the next stream, Ignacy actually pointed it out, and we said, oh, I had enough actually to buy an invention, so I haven't crumbled yet, so I'm still going strong. We're going into the game 6 with my civilization still standing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and as you guys can see, it's astronomy, engineering, irrigation, archery, all these different and really awesome, cool, unique artwork from the Imperial Settlers.
I was just going to say, I very much like the Imperial Settlers twist of the Vitruvius man there.
Yeah,
yes, the Vitruvian gamer.
Yeah, exactly. A little meeple there too in the back. Yeah, everything. There's a lot of work that's put into the cards on here. There's a lot of cards. There's a lot of content. So let's actually show the provinces too, because that's the third element of this, which is the deck on the right. Yep. And these are all just unique locations. Every single one of these is unique. And you can just keep flipping through them because the artwork on this is phenomenal. All the different artists from the past expansions were worked on some of these art on these cards, and you're going to get one of these provinces at the end of every game. So your empire itself is going to start expanding because of the different provinces you're going to get. And again, like I mentioned, these provinces make it more expensive for you to maintain and upkeep. So there's a risk there. It's benefits and a risk. You have to balance that, and you have to make sure you're building your engine as you go, not just within the game, but as the game as a whole on the campaign. Do you have anything of note on these, David?
Yeah, one of the things that's really great about these, you get them at the end of the game. And one of the abilities that I've unlocked with my game is that I get to draw 2 and choose 1. Normally, you just draw the next one off the top of the deck and you get them. And when you get them at first, you're like, oh, this is amazing for my civilization. This is so great. And then you look at the top of the card and you're like, oh, -5 more points. Oh, no. So every single time you get one, it feels great to get it because you know you're going to have this really great bonus. But then you realize that you also lose 5 points on your next game. So each one makes your game more costly. But the artwork, like Luke was saying, is just absolutely gorgeous on these, and they give you really great bonuses. Some of them work really, really well with your civilization. Some might not work as well with your civilization. Some of them, though, one of the really interesting things about these, some of them will bring in aspects from some of the other expansion civilizations. So you might want to deck build your deck. For example, one of mine uses the Atlantean technology tokens. And so I'm considering putting some Atlantean cards in my deck, in my Roman deck, just because I can produce technology tokens now if I want to. So it gives you a lot more choices and a lot more options as you gain more provinces.
I'm wondering if either Luke or David, if there was a question in the chat, if you might describe a little bit how this works with the solo game as well, like how the whole structure of Rise of Empires works is in solo play.
So there's only 3 rule changes to the way you play solo. So you're going to play solo normally. And I mean, it is beneficial. You have to have at least someone to raise or some cards to interact with. But there's only a few changes to the actual solo game with this expansion. It's just the way you set up and the way you finish the game as far as the points. Like David was saying, that the provinces, you're going to lose 5 points. You're going to have to use knowledge to purchase inventions. I haven't played the solo on this yet. David, do you know anything else to add to that?
Yeah, basically the solo game, the main change that it gives you in the game is that you have 4 quests out. And you have to accomplish, I believe, at least 3 quests. Is that correct? To avoid crumbling your empire each game. So you have to go for quests during your solo game as you're going. In addition to competing against the solo the game itself. You're competing against the game, but you also have to go for quests, and you have to achieve a certain number of quests every time, or else your empire crumbles. But it's really, really fun because you're still building this empire. And I was gloating a little bit. I'm a little bit ashamed of my behavior. I was gloating a little bit because my empire is four games in, and Paul was having to start over because his empire had crumbled. And so I had way more options, and I had way more, things going for me. So as you build your civilization out, you have a lot more things to choose from, more options, and so your game gets a lot more expanded as you go.
Now, someone in the chat, I think, was making a little bit of a cheeky question that you guys had a roll and write version of Imperial Settlers come out, I believe, last year. That would you consider this sort of a flip and write in that you are writing on those pads? And, yeah, in a way, it's weird to think of that, though, since this is a campaign style and it's got this grandness, this vastness to it that you don't necessarily associate with a roll and write or a flip and write.
Yeah, it's definitely got elements of flipping cards and writing things down, but it's way more than that.
Yeah. Now, if people were interested in picking this up, can you guys talk a little bit about
my connection
when
is
and how?
terrible here, so I got most of it, I think. But yeah, sorry, could you do that?
That's okay. Yeah, I was gonna say David's got you back on this one too, Luke. So no worries. Just wondering.
You know that portal with roll and write. Even though it's a roll and write, we would still want to make it as complicated as a roll and write can be, at least. There's a lot of depth to it. Ignacio wanted to design a game that's in that mid-tier of roll and write. After you play a lot of the other games that they're great games and you can play them a lot of times, but you still want to have something a little bit deeper to sink your teeth into as far as the roll and write goes. That's why we created that. So yeah, I mean, this is just another addition to the Imperial Settlers line with the 7 expansions for the base game, with the dozens of promos, and with the roll and write. And this is, I do have to say that this was designed solely by our new in-house designer, junior designer, Joanna Kijanka. Depends if you want to say it in Polish or English. But so we're not sure. I'm not sure if she's going to have any other ideas to do any more content for Imperial Settlers, or if she's going to switch her focus to new endeavors. But this is a really nice, last thing to kind of put on top of your pile for Imperial Settlers to tie it all in together.
And to answer the last question, it is available now. You can get it at the BoardGameGeek.com website. You can get it on the store there. You can also get it at your friendly local game store. These should be available pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah, and since this is a campaign, there's nothing to stop you from running multiple campaigns. Like if people are worried that this is more of a legacy style where it's sort of once and done, like you could do as many campaigns as your heart desires over time.
Oh yes, and you're going to want to. I can tell you, as somebody who's played it 5 games in, I'm already thinking about, okay, now I want to deck build. I want to do Aztecs. I want to mix in some cards from Atlanteans. I want to play again. You're going to want to play this more and more. You're going to want to play this again and again and again. Which is why the pad. That's another question that a lot of people have. The pad of different eras is very large. There's a ton of them. And you eventually will be able to go and print more of those out. So it's a game that you're going to want to play a lot.
Wonderful. Well, Luke, hope you're suffer through the hurricane all right. David, we thank you both for your time and letting us take a quick sneak peek at Imperial Settlers Rise of the Empire. And thank you again.